Hello, gay people. Welcome to episode 12 of Kings on the Aux, the podcast where drag kings talk music and gender performance. I'm your host, Caius also known as Ben. I am so thrilled to introduce this episode and my conversation with the King of Cleveland, Ryder Slowly. If you follow Cleveland drag even casually, you're familiar with Ryder's work as a performer and producer. He hosted and produced the Casting Call Open Stage competition at Coda with Pineapple Honeydew. He's organized multiple All King shows at venues all over Cleveland, including Muse and Ingenuity Fest. And, as heavily discussed on this podcast, he is the host and producer of the Kingpin Drag Competition Seasons 1 and 2. In his 7 years as an entertainer, he has been a leading advocate for drag king visibility. Most of the kings who have been featured on this podcast so far will tell you that some of their first opportunities in drag came from Ryder, and I can say the same. I have known Ryder for a long time, and I've actually interviewed him once before for a magazine feature called The Kings Are Running It. I really appreciate the professional standard, but also the thoughtfulness and heart that he brings to his drag. So I knew he would have a lot of insights to share for the podcast. When I was developing this show last year and I made up a kind of wish list for future guests, he was one of the first kings I thought of. And then a few months ago, I posted a poll on Instagram asking my listeners who they really wanted to hear on the show, and Ryder's name came up over and over. So I'm incredibly excited to finally give the people what they want. Ryder is known for high-energy, crowd-pleasing performances, and that describes the number he brought for us today. You'll hear more about that in a minute, but for now, I'll just say that I really loved this interview as a way to talk about drag on every craft level, from the technical construction of a mix, to the physical embodiment on stage, to the deeper implications of your entire persona in drag. So this was really fun and really emotional at the same time to reflect on Ryder's art and career. I hope you enjoy our conversation. I am here with Ryder Slowly. We are going to talk about his Bon Jovi mix. Thank you so much for coming on. To start off, before we get into the mix, I want to talk a little bit about Ryder Slowly as a character. So, who is Ryder, and what kind of performance can an audience expect from him?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you as well. As far as like what kind of guy Ryder is, I would say it's evolved over time a little bit. When I first started drag, I was not like passing well. I was just coming into my identity, like figuring out what was going on and why I felt so sad for so long. Because growing up, I think the first trans person I ever found out about was Caitlyn Jenner. So I really did not have like the language to describe what was going on. I met drag people like very early on into figuring out my identity, and Ryder kind of started as just the place where I knew I could be called he, or so I thought. But there's always a drag queen that'll prove me wrong. There's always one. Yeah, I have like a beard and a tux on, and they're like, "Give it up for her. She was great." I guess, girl, whatever. But yeah, it really started out as a place to kind of start exploring my identity and exploring with more masculine clothes, more fashionable masculine clothes. I was like a basketball short t-shirt kind of person for years and years and years. But lately, because I've been doing drag for almost 7 years now. Isn't that fucking crazy? Almost 7 years now. Am I allowed to say bad words? Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay.
It's an explicit podcast. Go ahead.
Perfect. I just want to check because I got a mouth like a sailor. But yeah, now that I'm like, I feel like I'm coming into my own. I feel like I'm at a happy point. Happy point in my transition. You know, as happy as can be right now with everything. But for me now, Ryder is just kind of like my way to connect with people outside of the regular like social anxiety that I feel always. People would not guess it, that I really feel like awkward coming up and starting a conversation, and I'm not all that confident in like holding conversations with people. So at least as Ren, but Ryder kind of, I get to put all that away and just be, I guess, the most ideal version of myself, if that makes sense. Like he is truly the self-made man. Like Ren's just out here trying to do his best
Yeah.
to survive with the political climate and money and everything. But Ryder is like that guy, you know.
Yeah. I remember that the last time that I talked to you for the other interview project that I did, you were mentioning how like sort of gender stuff and drag stuff started around the same time for you, which is like sort of a common narrative that I hear for a lot of kings. I think whenever I talk to Twisted, he'll mention how like, yeah, I started tea and started drag within months of each other. So yeah, it's really cool to hear about how Ryder could like start as like just a gender exploration place, and now it's still that, but also like a confidence exploration place. And like this is like an unbreakable persona, so to speak.
Yeah, very that. And we're very similar in a lot of ways. Like I don't, there are some people who are amazing examples of like great characters that they've created and whatever. But Ryder's just like some guy, you know, like it really doesn't go much deeper than that.
And you know what? Some guy is still a character. That's still a narrative.
Hey, I'll take it.
But let's talk about the Bon Jovi mix. So it's 3 songs, and you were telling me that it's your favorite mix that you do right now. So what do you enjoy so much about it?
It is 3 songs. It's 3 just Bon Jovi bangers back to back to back. I've always been like a classic rock kind of person. My dad actually taught me the majority of what I know about music and the kind of music that I like, and he introduced me to that world. And I've just always loved rock and roll since. I that was part of the reason why I was like weird in school, was because I didn't like the music that, you know, Katy Perry and whatever. It was like, yeah, that's fine. I was in high school and Katy Perry was like it, you know. So I just never really felt that way about a lot of the pop music. I like more of it now. Drag kind of has allowed me to expand my taste in music as well. But yeah, I love rock and roll. I feel a strong connection with my dad all the time when I'm doing Ryder, which is kind of weird because he's a really like sexy character. But my dad tells me all the time, like, the moves you do now are the moves I was doing in the club back in the day. So so I, you know, I'm just paying homage to my old man. And I don't know. He was my role model growing up. So I've always really wanted to feel like my dad. And also as like a trans guy growing up, not understanding what was going on, I don't know, I just like idolized certain men in my life because it's who I wanted to shape myself after. And I guess Ren is like all the responsible, good qualities of my dad. Ryder's all the rowdiness and the bad.
Oh
And
yeah.
the well, I guess not bad, flirty, and you know, all the above.
The party guy.
Right. And then also like Ryder, when I'm performing, my main goal with the audience is to just get everyone hype as fuck. Like I just want everyone in the room to be feeling all the energy that I feel, because I'm just trying to give it back to them, and it just creates this epic cycle of like performer and audience, and everyone usually has a great time. I haven't had any complaints yet.
Yeah. No, I agree that like that sense of like the reciprocal like energy in the room is something that I always like feel really strongly like when I've seen you perform, and like something that like a lot of like up and coming kings that I know like want to model after when they see you.
Yeah, it's definitely a quality I try to instill in the kings who come to me for advice.
Ooh, where do I want to go next? There are so many good places we could go. I think that I'd like to get into how this particular mix moves, its energy from song to song. How would you describe sort of the like flow and movement of the Bon Jovi mix?
It starts out with Wanted Dead or Alive, which has like this long kind of cowboy plucky guitar instrumental with like shh, shh, shh in the back, like
Mm-hmm.
tumbleweed noises and whatnot. And that song, it starts out really slow, but it builds in energy. So I kind of cut it off before that song gets too hype because I don't know, sometimes I like to make people question, like, is he going to do anything good or like entertaining? Because you know how people feel about drag kings. Like
Mm-hmm.
you really have to win the crowd over
Right.
as a king to get them on your side. So I don't know. Sometimes I like to do a little trickery and start real slow and low energy, and but they're still drawn in because you have to have that showmanship and be able to present yourself on stage. And
Mm-hmm.
then it comes to a point where it cuts to "You Give Love a Bad Name," which is one of Bon Jovi's like hits. It's a song that I assume most of the people in the audience are gonna know. So if you
Yeah.
weren't like, "Oh, this is gonna be cool," because like when I do brunch, everyone's dad is like, "Oh my god, they're doing Bon Jovi. This is amazing." So once we get past that part, I try to hit people with like, a song that they may or may not know. Maybe they heard it on like Guitar Hero or something growing up, and then I amp up my performances as well. I do more like dance moves. I get down in the audience if possible to
Mm-hmm.
go flirt with the tables or whatever. And then eventually it kind of goes into what is this song? Living on a Prayer. I'm like, Don't
Yeah.
Stop Believing. That's not the fucking song. And those two songs have the same energy though. And
They
that's
do.
why I picked it for last because it's just a
Yes.
song everybody knows. I've done this performance at like small venues where there's maybe 30 people in the room. And I've done this mix at places like Ingenuity Fest where there are
Mm.
hundreds of people everywhere. And
Yeah.
no matter like what type of venue, what type of crowd, whatever, once Living on a Prayer comes on, everyone's like, "Whoa, halfway there." Like they're jamming with me. And that's
Yes.
my goal, I want everybody to get into that moment with me and really enjoy their time the way that I am.
Yeah. No, I really like the way that you describe that in terms of like where you are in the room and what's happening in the room. Like for each song. That's exactly like I've seen you do this live a couple of times, and then as I was listening back to it to prepare, I was like, yeah, like opening with Wanted Dead or Alive. Like it's that really classic like slow burn build up, and then it gets to a like real peak intensity like with You Give Love a Bad Name, and then Living on a Prayer comes on, everyone loses it. It's really well charted is like what I always think about it.
Thank you. Thank you. I try to make like a false climax with the
Right.
"You Give Love a Bad Name," and then I just really give it to them. The 1-2, with "Living
Exactly.
on a Prayer." Yeah.
Yeah. Something I hadn't been thinking about though is the way that like kings end up experiencing that. Like there's a sense of expectation and almost like needing to prove yourself when you first come out, and people are like, well, what the fuck is this guy doing? And then I think that, yeah, that's really interesting and like subversive to like intentionally start off slow and then like, okay, but now look at me.
It's just something I've picked up and noticed in my almost 7 years of doing this. Like when I first started, I would say that a lot of the ideas that I had were a lot more like fun or like casual, not necessarily like me really considering what the audience would enjoy. And a lot of that may have been inexperience and just experimentation and whatnot. But also, when I started, there were a couple opportunities for Kings. I don't want to get like too into it because I don't want anyone to think I'm shitting on them because I am absolutely not. I very much
Mm,
appreciate all the Kings who came before me because I wouldn't be here without them.
right.
But truthfully, when I started, there were very, very few like paid opportunities for drag kings to get booked in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and it really pissed me off because I made friends with queens and I saw the attention that they would get and the stacks of money. Way better before COVID, but whatever. And yeah, I didn't understand why I couldn't be in that club. It kind of felt like being trans and figuring everything out again. It was like, oh, now I understand why I don't fit in with this crowd, but I
Mm-hmm.
could. So when I really started out, I had that phase of like the experimental stuff. And then when I really wanted to buckle down and like accomplish things, like really, I don't know, get into it, I felt this like immense pressure to be like a good representative of all the kings, a good, in quotes, like palatable representation for the kings. Somebody that your average, mom at brunch or whatever would walk away being like, oh my God, I love that. And drag kings, never seen that before. Because for so many years, I was that person. Every show I would do, it would be, oh my God, you're amazing. We've never seen a drag king before, but we want to come back and see you. Or like, after the show, people coming up and giving you extra money and being like, fuck those queens, you're really out here working. Like they're just out, whatever. It took a lot, honestly, to like train our Cleveland drag audience to really actually appreciate drag kings.
Yeah.
And I ask this at just about every show that I do, except for the ones that I know, like we're in a space where being supported. I'll ask like, how many of you have ever been at a drag king show before? And years ago when I started asking that, it would be like the majority of the room raising their hand, like never seen a drag king, never even heard of them most of the time. And now when I ask that, it actually kind of like makes me emotional because, for instance, I'll just say Ingenuity Fest because it's a huge, huge, huge venue. There's hundreds of people that come through there. There were maybe 5 people that had never seen a drag king before.
Wow.
And I think it's just like amazing that our community has been able to kind of just like piggyback off of the work of the previous generation that came before them to just expand our scene and make it better and better and better. Because every year, that I've been a part of this, I thought, well, this just keeps getting better and better and better. And we have so many new kings and so many of them are doing so many different things. Like I felt such pressure to be like a mask hot man, like, and that's what I like to do. So it wasn't a hard role to like take on, but I do regret a little bit not being more experimental once I kind of hit that phase where I was like, I want to show everybody what we can really do. Like, but the kings can come out here and we can really do this. I know we can. Because, I don't know, we have such a strong alternative drag king scene now. I feel like the outsider. I'm like, can I come into the cool kids club? Like, I want to be a cool guy too. But I'm over here in my like rhinestone suit. Looking like I'm going to prom. And everybody else is like covered in blood or they're like zombies and vampires and all this awesome stuff. So,
well,
I don't know.
The influence, it goes both ways though, because it's like the zombie and vampire and like covered in blood guys are also like wearing rhinestones. There's interplay.
Yeah, there's trade-off. Yeah, you're right. And honestly, we do better together. Like I've never understood people who like close the door behind them. I'm like, it was so hard coming up and really figuring out how to make costumes, how to make mixes, like make men's clothes interesting. Good luck. Here's pants and a shirt. Have fun.
Yeah.
I said that one time at a show and a guy in a Mickey Mouse shirt was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm fashionable. I said, Blue, you're in a Mickey Mouse shirt talking about that.
Oh my God.
Get off my stage. No, but all that, we really help each other. We all learn from each other. And that's why I love like our scene in particular. I'm sure other king scenes are like that. Cause like every drag king I've ever met is just so nice and awesome. And I've gotten to meet so many cool people through this. Yeah.
That is something that I really like seeing about our scene is how we all like work together and inspire each other. And that makes me think of just the response that I heard to both of the first 2 seasons of Kingpin, where I think that it's not just all of the entertainers who like came out of the competition itself, like the 2 like classes as it were of the competition, so much as like almost every like drag king who I've met who like started in the past 2 years had said that like seeing Kingpin like inspired them to start. So like that impact has been really fun to see. So now that we've had those 2 seasons of Kingpin, out of everything that you got to like witness come out of that during and after, what made you feel the happiest or the proudest to see?
I'll give you a couple things. First is the winner of season one, Abel, who I have since adopted as my son, not because he won, but because as we had conversations about, getting things together for season two, I'm just like, I really like this guy. Like, he's a cool
Yeah.
guy. He bullied me into being his dad. So
Oh, yeah.
he was just kind of like, yeah, that's it. Okay. And I was like, sure, I'll be your dad. I'm so proud of him because I think that he really, one of the things I admire most about him is his work ethic. And I think that that's what really like drew me to him, because our entertainment styles are not very similar. He's like very silly and goofy and like, yeah, silly and goofy.
Silly and
Period.
goofy.
That's the end of that sentence. And I'm very like sexy and flirty and whatnot, but we both have this just like desire to make it work. Like, we want the Kings to be booked. We want them to be booked in good shows, getting paid, getting promoted, building their career and their network and whatnot. So Abel, first and foremost, always so impressed by him and his work ethic and everything like that. And of course, I mean, season two, I have to feel bad for all the other guys that were on season two, because the winner of that one, Edward Ligma, the Rizzler, he just like, you couldn't have possibly built a better package than
Yeah.
him. He's so detail oriented and just like fully thinks out every idea and executes it to the like 10th degree. He's amazing. So getting to meet and work with him as well is just great. I felt really weird judging some of the Kings sometimes, because I'm like, you're better than me at this. I'm just the guy who like had the idea. Other than the two winners, I think that what stands out to me the most about like things that I'm just so proud of is the fact that so many of the people that came through, and not all, because some people came through and then maybe kind of realized like, this isn't for me, or maybe I don't want to pursue this as professionally or like as much as I want to do this or that or whatever. But I would say the majority of the guys, entertainers who came through, really took hold of the lessons I was trying to teach and applied them in their like drag careers as professional entertainers. For instance, I'll go back to season one because it's actually the like 2-year anniversary of season one.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of nuts. But in that season, a lot of the challenges, I mean, both seasons, but in that season in particular, the challenges that I chose were specifically things that like drag kings are told they're not able to do or that they're not good at. Like making costumes or hosting or, lip syncing, anything. I mean, we're told by certain people that we shouldn't even be like a part of this community. You know what I mean? So really my idea with every challenge that we've had is like, fuck you, you're wrong. We can do this. We're going to have an amazing show showcasing that we can do this. They got critiqued by all the judges who were Kings who've been around the block for a while. And yeah, I just really feel like they took what I was trying to teach them and learned it. And as a teacher, I'm not a teacher all the time, but like when I do try to help people out, it makes me feel good knowing that they listened and they, respect me enough to actually take what I have to say into consideration. And it also just makes me feel, I don't know, I get really emotional about drag all the time
Yeah.
because like
Oh, yeah.
I never thought that I would be like somebody that people looked up to so
Oh,
much,
yeah.
or that was so respected in the community. Just because like growing up, it was a completely different story with like bullying and this and that and whatever. So yeah, really getting to kind of be that person for other people. Like there were people I looked up to where I was like, I can get through this because this person can get through this. I can do this because this person can. Being that person now, it just really makes me happy and emotional at the same time. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Cool feeling. I was just having a conversation with another king the other day, and I won't say their name because I don't know if they want to be put on the spot like this. But I was saying, like, I think that if I were to retire, I wouldn't feel like the king scene would disappear. I think that we have such a strong base with the kings who are out here really doing it, producing shows, Abel, Marquis, all them. I think we have such a great base that if I did go away, I think we'd be fine. I think it's so cool that we're to this point now where, I don't know, it's not even necessary to have one person be like, no, you shut up and you listen because drag kings are good and you need to watch them. Like it's just, yeah, it's cool. It's really cool to be at this point now.
Yeah, definitely. The combination of like the drag experience that overlaps so much with the like queer trans experience of just like realizing realizing that you can do it and that it's going to be okay because so many people are looking up to you and like already count on you in that way. I agree that that's really amazing to see. And also, yeah, that we have a scene that has dispersed so much and that it's like, yeah, it's not all on your shoulders anymore. I mean, I certainly hope that you don't retire anytime soon, but but
I'll probably be kicking till I'm dead. Let's be real.
yeah. But I also think that yeah, that just that realization that it's not just one or even just like two or three entertainers keeping it going. Like we have so many people who are organizing shows who have like made names for themselves that it's like it feels really collective at this point. Speaking of shifts in the drag scene over the past couple years, I would like to talk about Cleveland scene and all of the best of, because you were voted Cleveland scene's best drag king in 2024, and I know that that's a full year ago, and now we have Radius Lines as best drag king 2025, but I still want to really talk about it because you were the first best drag king in Cleveland scene ever, and before that it was just the one like general drag category that was consistently won by queens. And as I understand it, you were like one of the leaders to change that. So, what does that recognition and that change in the public perception of kings mean to you?
Online bullying works. No, I'm just
Part of it.
kidding.
That's part of it.
No, it's actually kind of crazy because I thought it was so cool when I first heard of like, oh my God, they do like a Cleveland scene's best drag, whatever. Because I had known about scene. It was like on campus and whatever at Cleveland State when I went there, and all over Cleveland you can see scene. So I thought it was just cool to even like have them recognizing us. But then as I talked to some of the queens who had been like doing this for a while and who had been nominated before, they told me that it was a little fucky, that it's always kind of the same couple queens getting nominated, and you can imagine what they look like and how they identify. Yeah. And I was actually the first and I believe only drag king to ever be nominated for best drag performer as well.
I think that's right, yeah.
To my knowledge, I don't know if like years ago, maybe somebody was, but to my knowledge, I was. And after that happened, I was just kind of like, okay, so drag king's never going to win this because it's always going to be a queen just because of issues with like visibility and different things like that. So it was pretty simple. I just kind of like commented on a couple things online and was like, hey, it would be cool if you did this too. And then they like ask for suggestions every year too. So I know a couple of entertainers, like I'm pretty sure Pineapple as well, said like, hey, you guys should do a king thing because, as it stands now, king will never win and they deserve the recognition as well. Because while we do the same thing, I do think it's important to acknowledge that like we're also not like, I don't know. I think that there is a big difference, especially socially, with portraying femininity and portraying masculinity, like hyper masculine, if we're going to put it in the most basic terms that we can, for all the sissies out there who want to listen into the pod. I think that I'm not going to say easy because it's definitely not easy, but it is easier to kind of put yourself out there as a queen with a feminine persona because you have so many looks that you can do. There's so many silhouettes that are just like different. It's not like suit, which it doesn't have to be suits for kings, but that's like a common piece. So like different silhouettes you can play with. Every song made by a man ever sucks except Bon Jovi. clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I dare you to name 10 songs made by men in the last like 5 years that I could perform on stage.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and I've asked people this before, and they are like, I don't know. And then somebody said Benson Boone, and I did Benson Boone one time, and I got bullied for it. So I'm never doing that again.
So
You
no.
know who you are.
Oh,
I know who you
oh
are. You know who you
no.
are. It's okay. He was able.
Oh, yeah.
He can bully me. It wasn't fun. But if he wants to bully me, he can. And then on top of that too, like I feel like you have to be very, very careful when you're trying to be like, especially like a sexy, flirty guy, to not be toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Toxic masculinity. I've seen younger kings do this, and I'm sure I did it when I was starting out too, where maybe you're like trying to do something where it's like, I'm going to make fun of men for doing this. But then you don't realize, especially as like a trans guy, and especially as a trans guy who like I have no problem just going out and existing. I don't get clocked in the outside world anymore. If you're like a guy on stage portraying a shitty guy on stage, guess what? You're just being a shitty guy on stage.
Yeah.
So like there are things like that you have to consider. And I think that a lot of times like stereotypes about women are less negative in that way. Like maybe you're a bimbo or maybe you're a slut or whatever, but that you can like turn into a good performance. My partner's a bimbo and a slut, so I know that you
Mm-hmm.
can get a lot of success in drag getting that kind of shtick. But yeah, for me, you kind of have to really consider what you're doing and make sure that you're doing what you can to portray exactly what you want to say and nothing more, because people will take it and run with it however they want.
Yeah, that is something that I think about a lot on both on the like practical level of what clothes are available to you and seen as feminine versus masculine, but also just in terms of how people think about masculinity and femininity. I think that sometimes doing drag in an exaggerated feminine persona can be received more readily by the audience because, like, there's kind of an assumption that like femininity is exaggeration and artifice and like things that you put on. And then when you start to show people that masculinity is that too, masculinity is also something that you perform very intentionally, they can get a little bit upset. There's this idea that femininity is like big and exaggerated and masculinity is all about being like understated and just natural and just being, and drag kings upsets that. Like people don't like to hear it.
hmm hmm Yeah, and like to that point, I feel like a lot of people kind of see like masculinity as like a default,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. It's like, I don't know, think of a man. I think that you're going to think about the same. If I say, like, picture a man, we're probably all going to picture just about the same man. But if I say picture a
Right.
woman, there's so many possibilities. I mean, I guess there are with men too, but I don't know. I just feel like people really only try to take masculinity at like face value.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the examples of masculinity that we do have are terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like part of the reason that I also kind of excel and I think about these things all the time is because my dad, growing up, I was the firstborn daughter. So
Mm-hmm.
you get treated as a son, essentially, anyways.
Right.
So my dad, like, he always tried to instill in me, like, you don't have to be all that. Like, you're being masked, because I was always a masculine, like, tomboy little kid, too. So
Mm-hmm.
always into sports and whatnot. So, and when my brother was born, I kind of saw a little bit more in depth how he would have said it to a male child, but he was always
Mm-hmm.
teaching lessons about like your worth as a man, as a leader, has nothing to do with your like physical strength, your money, how much liquor you can drink, whatever, how good at sports you are, all that kind of crap. It is about how you can use your power and your voice that you just get to
Mm-hmm.
bring people up who aren't getting that. And like that kind of helped me to make my character, because I knew that while, because I'll be really really honest with you too, and you knew me back in the day. I was a toxic mask lesbian, like
I
you
I
know.
admit I was there. I was that was way back in 2018, 2019 ish, and right before you started, and it was a rough time for everybody.
Yeah, like I was a real shithole, and there were a lot of lessons I had to learn. And like I don't know. I My dad, my mom too. I don't mean to just keep talking about my dad. My mom's great, but I don't know. I just feel like he really instilled those lessons in me that allow me to not be an asshole masculine person, but like a considerate masculine person.
Yes. Yeah, I agree that's it's a really central foundation, and I think that can be the thing that is missing when you see kings attempting to make fun of toxic masculinity and accidentally just doing it, where like if even if you are riffing on ways in which men can be terrible, you need to have a core of like what is a good man, like what is healthy masculinity, or people aren't really gonna like you or want to spend time with you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Or if you're gonna be like, because I know a lot of like kings who identify as women who do that kind of stuff. I think that's more okay because you're poking fun at the people who are like fucking you.
Yeah.
Like the people who put you down. It's like, yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna make fun of you, and I'm not gonna be, censored or whatever about it. I'm just gonna present it however I can. So I think that is important too. And this is something I say, like people ask me all the time. There was this one fan who used to come all the time. He'd ask me, how do you feel about like Radius Lyons being a drag king? Because he's like a man. And I'm like, I don't care where you start. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care where you start from. I care that you put in effort and that you're like a nice person and that you're talented. And it always just felt weird to me that people try to exclude like cis people from participating in their like the category of drag that aligns with their gender that they have like during the day, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess my one point is always that like I always appreciate the like cis male drag kings who are very aware that the space that they're in is primarily for like AFAB people, women, non-binary people who are AFAB, trans men, whatever, primarily, and
Mm-hmm.
in our considerate and not douchebags. Like I love Radius, I love
Mm-hmm.
like Himbo, all our cis boys. I love them, and
Yeah.
I think that they bring very valuable things to the drag, and I think that they're great too. And that's just a couple of them off the top of my head, with like acknowledging that as well. Like as a trans guy, I look to them too for kind of cues and things because I'm like, if I'm going to be like a man operating out in like this kind of space, I don't want to be an asshole either. I am
Right.
sometimes, but it's okay for the most part. Yeah, we're just out here having a good time, supporting everybody. So
Yeah, I really appreciate that conversation about both the like craft performance of it all and also the community responsibility of it all.
mhm.
Yes, being aware of who you are in the space, but also not letting that like stop you, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's just about being tasteful, like be tasteful, be considerate. I mean, do your own thing, but you don't want to get on people's shit list for being, this, that, or whatever. Because once you're that, you're that. You know how people are like, well, once you're a liar, and that's all people are going to think about you. It's very that. Like, if you're a misogynist, guess what? Nobody's going
Guess
to forget
what?
it.
Yes. Yes. I'd like to talk also about since we've discussed a few of the things that like people approach you for advice on. I'd like to take a few minutes of like mixing shop talk because I think that this Bon Jovi mix is a really good example of a lot of things that I like listen for in mixes, like just on a technical level, like the fading between the instrumentals of the different songs. Like I think when I re-listened to it for this interview and the that like cut from "You Give Love a Bad Name" to "Living on a Prayer," I was like, yes, yes, that was so cool. I know how he did that, and that was so cool. So, do you have either technical or artistic or both advice for performers who want to make more of their own mixes of multiple songs?
Yeah, I would say that first of all, there's this website I use from time to time where if you're just like looking for songs that sound good together, you can kind of find like it'll show you like the BPM and the key and
Oh,
everything. It's called TuneMat. So you can throw your song that you have in your mind into Tune That, and it'll show you all these songs that'll go good with it.
Wow.
I don't use that every single time because sometimes it's more like you're telling a story or whatever. And that is the main advice that I would give if you want to make a mix is like figure out, is this like a narrative or is this just like a bunch of songs that are going together to like get people excited? Because I actually do a couple Bon Jovi songs in two different mixes. So like for this one specifically, this was just like get people excited. This has no narrative, really just like energy building.
Yes.
So for something that's like that, I would say, you know, if there's only so many people there, if it's a small room, start with something a little bit more slow and subdued, and then build into it. If it's a gig where you need like an 8-minute mix, start off kicking, give yourself some time to breathe, put in a little slow song in there, and then pop an energetic song on the end. You're good to go. For like storytelling and like for character mixes and things like that, I always try to find like my spoken word pieces first. Always find that first. And then I'll clip it into whatever I need it to be later on. Find the songs that I want. So right now I'm making like a goth kid mix for this show that I have coming up. I just found all the talking parts that I need. So I'm taking my song and I'm listening for those musical like breaks. And when the singing stops and the music is just playing like instrumental, you either need to put a clip in there, change directions and put a different song in there, or like have an idea for what you're going to do during the instrumental part. Because I can't tell you how many times I've seen people just kind of like writhing during like a guitar solo or whatever. And, you know, that's fine. But if we're, you know, performing and we want to present something incredible, just something else to consider if you come across a moment like that. So yeah, look for the areas that you feel like need something in the song. And at that time, it's time to change directions, because also you could completely pull an audience back in with a new song. If you do, you know, MCR and everybody's like at the end, like, I don't fucking know, sing for the fun, sing for the girls. When it gets to like the next little bit and everybody's bored of that song, play something else, something just as exciting, and people will pull out another dollar. Just make sure you make your way around the room a couple times while you're doing it, you know? And then just like, I always listen through headphones. I will never use my computer speaker to mix a song, because it sounds like ass on there, and it does not emulate what you're really hearing in the club. And there are mixes of mine where you can definitely tell, like, he did not do this leveling right. There's been quite a few I have to fix. So yeah, get some like decent headphones, hook those up, and do all your mixing through there, because your computer speaker sucks. It does not work for what you need it to work for. And then also, never hurts to send a mix to a friend and say like, hey, I just made this. How do you like? Do you like it? Like, it's for this number. What do you think? Or whatever. Because I've had mixes where I've sent off or showed to Monica, or vice versa. My partner, Monica Lexa. And she's like, oh, I don't know. I feel like during this part, you're not going to have anything to do. So like, second opinion never hurts. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I went to film school. I didn't learn anything there, but I went.
You were there.
I learned a little bit about, you know, mixing and narrative telling and, you know, all that. So I have a little bit of an unfair advantage in that way. But if you ever need any help, hit me up. I am all down for helping the Kings. I know you know what you're doing with the audio, but if anyone listening to this needs a crash course on GarageBand, I got you. I cannot teach you Audacity. I don't know shit about that.
Yes. I can teach you Audacity.
There we go.
This podcast is edited in Audacity, and so are all my mixes.
Perfect. So you got both of them right there. Boom, boom. Hit us up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's first of all, you said a couple things that I did not know about, so I am also taking notes. But I especially agree about the importance that like literally every like level and confidence of making a mix, like you should have like beta listeners. You should have a couple go-to people that you are sending your music to, because it does not matter like how good you are and how experienced you are, there will always be something that you don't catch. My go-to person is my drag dad, Macho Grande, and like literally how our like mentor friend relationship started was me sending him mixes and going, "Do you think this works? How's the transition?" And like basically every time he has been able to notice something, like even mixes that I like felt like I think this is either there or almost there. What do you think? He'll be like, yes, it just needs this like half a second like smoothed out on that transition, or there's just this little bit of distortion that doesn't need to be there. And I think it's also important to consider just the sort of deadening effect of listening to a tiny audio clip in your headphones on a loop over and over. You can labor over that for so long, and like you are no longer hearing it the way that someone in the club is going to be hearing it.
Yeah.
So you need an outside listener who's going to hear it the way your audience will.
Oh, absolutely. I've sent mixes for shows, had them play at the venue, and then realized that while I put, this song on the end of this song, I forgot to delete the second half of the first song that I was playing. So it was just two songs over top of each other. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm doing Seven Nation Army and Thanks for the Memories at the same time. I don't know what to do, but we got to
No.
get through it. Yeah, it happens. So yeah, always, if you can find somebody else to listen to it, yeah, that would be like the big takeaway, I'd say. That and pacing.
Yeah.
Those are the two
Yes.
biggest things to consider.
Yes. The way that I think about mixing is always like I kind of think of I have like a working list of principles where it what do I how do I phrase it? I think the way that I think of it is movement, connection, and surprise, where it's like you want it to be going either up or down, whether that's the energy level or maybe the movement is the storytelling. Like it should be it should be going somewhere. But it also has to make sense that you're doing these songs together, whether it's because they all have this artist in common, or they all have that BPM in common, or you are telling a story that we can clearly see. But it can also just be, I think that the one that people can get the most wonky with is the surprise, where it's like you want people to be pleasantly surprised that there's another song there that they like maybe weren't expecting, but you don't want people to be unpleasantly shocked of like, wow, that was really jarring. How did we get here? So those are kind of the values that I'm always toying with when I'm making something.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I used to do this was like in my first like 3 months of doing drag, maybe. I made a mix called Thor is God is a Woman. And it was like the most like Thor like mask mix ACDC, the whole immigrant song, the whole thing, clips from the movie. And then it says something about like, well, you're not worthy. And then there's like a pause and like a whoosh, thunder. And then God is a Woman started playing, and I would rip off
Aw,
my tearaway pants. And I had like tights on and everything, and my little fishnets. And yeah, that was like, surprise,
yeah,
surprise.
yeah,
He's
surprise.
gay or a woman. I don't know. We're figuring
Either
it out
way.
right now. Yeah. So the surprise is fun. I would say that I feel like I don't get into that as much, and maybe I need to because I'm old now. We're getting stale. I'm not gonna be able to split forever, so I gotta come up with something else.
Yeah, that's something that I think about in my like other art forms alongside drag, of like I'll like go to people in a panic like, "Oh no, is this too similar to something I've already done? Are people going to get bored? Are they not going to like it?" And then what people will like 9 times out of 10 remind me is like, "But people also come to see your drag or your creative writing or whatever art form it is you do. People come to see yours for a reason. There's something they like about yours. So that's how I combat the I'm getting boring, I'm getting stale
Good way to think
crisis
about it,
that I
honestly.
have.
Let me write that down.
I'm going to lead into a very specific question about mixing. I'm curious, and you mentioned, I think that what you say about instrumentals and like always either knowing what you're doing with them or finding a way around them is really useful. But I'm thinking about what you would say for advice on what to keep and what to cut when you're using multiple songs. Because sometimes I'll go to a show and I'll be seeing a performer doing a mix. I just think to myself, like, yes, I'm like watching them and I'm having a good time, but there will be that like nagging feeling in my head where I'm like, this could have been a minute shorter. This could have been 2 choruses shorter. But I think that efficiency and best use of your time is something that you are really good at because you have like 3 songs in less than 5 minutes. So what would you tell people in terms of prioritizing, making the best use of their time in a mix?
So, a couple things. I have like a Rolodex of just like music that I know. It's just like if I've ever heard a song, I know every word to it. So this isn't necessarily a problem for me, but for a lot of people who are like casual music enjoyers, they may know a lot of songs, but they really only know like the first verse and chorus. Everything else is dead space. If you're making a
Mm-hmm.
mix with multiple songs, get rid of it. Unless it's
Mm-hmm.
something that specifically fits into the narrative that you're trying to say. One thing I always like to do too, and this is like realty, so you're welcome for this.
Mm-hmm.
The end of the song is the end for a reason. It sounds like the end of the song. So take the end of the song that usually sounds like another part in the song. It's usually like the last chorus or bridge or whatever. Put it earlier. So like
Mm-hmm.
I could not possibly think of an example right now.
You do that in this mix, in the
Yeah,
Bon
yes,
Jovi mix,
yes,
yeah.
yes, I do. Take the end of the song, put it right after that first verse and chorus, line it up, make it sound right, and then do another one. Also, blocking. This is something I learned in film school. If you do theater, it's probably something you know about in film, just because that's what I know. What you do when you're blocking is you take like a bird's eye view photo of the area that you're trying to fill. So let's, for example, say we're on stage at no class, big room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know that if it's full, you're not leaving the stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have like everybody's going to be pressed up against it. So now you know, like, oh, this is my little area and I have to stay in this on the stage. What am I doing to fill this space for the entire time that I'm performing? Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
up there wasting time, everybody sees it. And maybe not everybody, because you know some people are drunk and whatever. But I'm a bitch and I see it.
Yeah.
And I'm positive there are other bitches out there who see it too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like blocking. If you can get a picture of the stage you're going to be performing on from the show host or whatever, if it's somewhere you haven't been before, and really think about like how much time is it going to take me to do, you know, this move that I want to do, or for like Monica's brunch, for example, because studio is like a big ass room, like the size of a volleyball court, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
big and long. So for that, I know that my mixes need to be like a little longer because I need to get from point A to point B and they're, you know, 65 feet away from each
Yes.
other. So yeah, blocking, especially if you're going to be using props, you need to figure out like, okay, from 0.00 to 0.31, I'm going to be doing this. From 0.32 to 0. Whatever, I'm going to be doing this. It doesn't have to be like that exact, but you should at least have an idea. If you don't have an idea of what you're going to be doing during any part of the mix that you're listening to, get rid of it or edit it or find something to fill that space. Because if you're just up there performing, doing empty space, everybody notices. And I'm not necessarily someone who plans out every single second of every single number. I know people who are like that. A lot of what I do is improv. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
like a general idea. So for the mix that we're talking about, for example, Wanted Dead or Alive comes on and it's like the build up and I'll be doing the cowboy walk. I have my hat pointed down, like over my eyes. I'm like looking around at everybody, getting them kind of like, ooh, who's this like mysterious guy? I'll make my way onto the stage. If it's like somewhere like studio, I can just walk onto the stage. If it's somewhere like no class, I would come in from the back and, do like that. And that fills up, the first 45 seconds or whatever. And then the singing starts, so I know, oh, when the singing starts, what I'm going to do is like throw my coat, tip my hat back, and I'm going to be like the cowboy now. Like I'm wanted, dead or alive. And I know during this number, what I'm doing is just continuing to build that anticipation of people being like, oh, what's he going to do? Like, when's he going to go off? Like, or is this just going to be fucking boring this whole time? Who knows? And then like once you give love a bad name would start and that transition happens, I'll like throw my jacket off, or I'll like take my hat and put it on someone's dad, or whatever like that. And that's like the time where I'm now kind of like doing my bigger moves, getting people's attention in that way, to kind of be like, I'm not fucking around. I'm not wasting your time being here. Like, you're gonna enjoy what I'm doing. And then finally it hits that last song, and that's when I'm like running back and forth, dollar, 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 and don't snatch dollars. But if people are giving you dollars, take them, give them a little like wink, or like a little hand caress, or like oh, thank you, like anything like that can also fill up some space and some time. And people remember that kind of stuff. I remember when people come up and they're like, snatched, and then they walk away, and I'm like, never again will I tip you. Because when people come to your show, they that's part of what they want. They want that interaction most of the time. Some shows are not made like that. Like if it's a seated kind of event, like it's not always as easy to do something like that. But for the most part, when people are coming to the drag shows, they want that exchange of like, you're giving me your dollar and I'm taking your dollar, and I very much appreciate it. So let me do a little move for you to show you that I appreciate the dollar. Because, it means a lot that in this recession bullshit times that we're dealing with right now, that people still want to come out and support you and your art. And that's the kind of thing that I want people to consider. Because let's just say there's a lot of like novice entertainers and entertainment that's maybe not putting in all of the thought and effort that is necessary to really do this and really make that connection with the audience and really build your network to make people want to come back to see you. And that is more important than a lot of the stuff in drag. Like it's really important to keep up with yourself and like make sure you're looking right, make sure that you are, doing good mixes that people want to see, But ultimately, you should really, really, really be working on expanding your network and growing your audience and pulling people in to your fandom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. That is something that when you're making a mix, and especially like when you're making a mix and you know that the venue you're in is one that it is like people on all sides, like you are able to go out and like touch people, interact with people. Like it's the balance of, you want to make sure that you have time designated in the mix where you are taking dollars and making eye contact, or at least the illusion of eye contact. I use that trick where you either look at their nose or look at their forehead so they think you're looking them in the eyes.
Right, there you go.
But but you're taking the time and showing gratitude to everyone who's tipping you, but also collecting dollars is not the only thing you are doing. That cannot be the only thing that you have in your blocking.
Right.
And that can be a problem sometimes, especially with newer entertainers, I think.
Right. Especially if you haven't put in the time to like build them up to that point. Like if you come right out the gate and you're like, ooh, dollar, ooh, dollar, ooh, dollar. It's like, what did you really do?
What did you do
to get the dollar? Especially if we're not like serving a look. It's like, I don't know. I don't want to shit on anybody because
right.
We're all on our own journeys. You'll either get it or you won't. Mm-hmm. That's how it works. That's any entertainment, right. Job, anything, any opportunity. You either get it or you don't. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get it, put forth the effort. Drag is really, you get out of it what you put into it,
Right.
For the most part. Some people get fired. royally. And
Unfortunately.
sorry, but yeah.
So, like we've talked about, a lot has changed in the Cleveland drag scene, particularly for drag kings in the past few years, and like I think that we've collectively accomplished a lot, but there's still a lot of work left to do. So, what changes are you hoping to see in Cleveland scene and in drag in general in the immediate future?
Well, I think that we're at this very interesting moment right now in our scene where there is more want for opportunities than there are opportunities. There's a lot more entertainers than there are spots and shows. And a couple years ago, that wasn't necessarily, I mean, it was, but like not to the extent that it is now. Like, I think the Cleveland scene really blew up from like 40, 50 entertainers to like 250, like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of our scene has not caught up with that, with like, getting more opportunities at other bars or more drag nights at the bars that already do it or whatever. It's just not growing as fast as our performers are. Like the opportunities are not exponentially growing. So what I would love, and I'm going to say this in the most Libra way that I possibly can, because I am a Libra. I don't like to make people
Yes.
mad. But what I would like is for more care to be put into what we're presenting.
Yeah.
As you take on the mantle of calling yourself a drag entertainer, or before you even step on a stage, an open stage, even, really consider what you are bringing to that stage. Is it different from what everybody else is doing? Like, no offense, we do not need any more white twink drag queens. Like, we have enough. That box is ticked and ticked and ticked and ticked. There's so many twink drag queens that like we don't need anymore. And whatever. If you're coming out and you're doing something amazing, yeah. But if you love Marquis Gaylord's drag, don't try to be Marquis.
Right.
You should go support Marquis at his shows. If you love his drag, you should go support him at his shows. Don't try to be him. Go support him until maybe you're at that point where you can present something new and exciting and engaging. Because right now, I think too, there's a lot of new entertainers who don't get opportunities to like try things out. It just creates this whole like vicious cycle of like we can't learn, so we don't learn. And then now we've been doing drag for 3 years and we've never gotten better. And now we're like to the point where it's like, well, why am I only doing open stages and whatever? And it's like, well, why do you think? Like, so yeah, I don't know. All that to say, really consider what you're bringing to the table. Really consider if it's worth it for you even. Because like drag, it's not for the weak. Like if you're going to school, I started drag while I was going to school and I dropped out of school to do drag. And I do not recommend that. If you are going to school, finish your fucking school. If you're dropping it out, don't you dare do it for drag because it's not worth it.
No.
It's not worth it. If you have something like, I would love to be like a herpologist, like a lizard doctor. If I could go back to school, that's what I would go back to school for. Yeah, I'm not fucking doing that. I've been doing this for how many years? I can be Steve Irwin in a mix, but not, in real life. Maybe I could. I don't know. I can do anything, but
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, just really, really, really genuinely consider what you're bringing to the table, and if it's presentable, and if it's filling a space, or if you're crowding a space.
Yes. Yes. No, I think that is like super necessary to keep in mind. I am very grateful that I am not starting drag like right now, like in the moment of the past 6 months, to be honest, because I think I started about 2.5 years ago, and it feels like there was enough space for me to kind of try out some things that didn't work for some months before I like kind of got an idea of who the character was and what I liked to do and what I was good at. Where like right now there's like you kind of have to do a lot of that like experimentation and like like persona development like in your room because there are not enough stages.
Well, yeah, and also like if you really love an entertainer and you look up to them, consider that maybe they're doing drag because they need to, and that if you don't need to, and you're coming in and you can only divide a quarter so many ways. You know, like if
Right.
we're all passing around the same $20, if we go from two entertainers passing around $10 to a piece to four entertainers passed around five to 20 entertainers passed around a buck, it's like, well, is anyone winning anymore? You
Yeah.
know, and it's not all about winning and like money and whatnot, but I would also encourage anybody who thinks they want to get into drag as a hobby to consider the fact that you cannot do drag as a hobby. I will. That is a very controversial thing to say, but I'm going to be very frank about it. If you want to do drag as a hobby, remember that you're competing with everybody who's doing drag as a career for
Hmm.
bookings. So you can say that you're doing it as a hobby, but that's not. If you're only doing it to that capacity, you're not going to get the opportunities that maybe you're looking for, and I think you might be disappointed. So just really,
Hmm.
really consider what you can put into it, because maybe your space is watching the show. Maybe you enjoy drag so much as an audience member that trying to do it and getting turned off to it is really going to be upsetting for you. I know people who've done that too, who love drag and they come around and they try out an open stage and stick around for maybe 5 or 6 shows, and then they're like, I'm embarrassed that I ever even did this, because there are people
Oh,
like you know, so and so and so and so that do it amazing. And I'm like, you know, don't be embarrassed. Like, it's all,
no.
we're all out here having fun, but at the end of the day, keep in mind that there are people who take this incredibly seriously. There are people who dedicate their lives to this craft and to perfecting all of the different things that you need to learn to really succeed in this art form. So yeah, just be considerate about the space that you're taking up. And then on a positive note,
Yes.
where
Yes.
what I would like to see in the scene is, I would like to see this like weird split community that we have right now to like get back together. Like, I feel like
Mm.
around the time that a certain venue opened, the scene kind of split into two, maybe three sections, and it's like you get booked here, you get booked here, and you get booked here, and that's that. And there are
Hmm.
a couple entertainers who go over those lines and aren't necessarily impacted by all that. But I would love to see our community a little bit more unified,
Yeah. Absolutely.
which
Thank
is
you.
a shitty thing to say after I told everybody to quit drag. But
Ah, well,
but you can be a part of the drag community without being an entertainer too.
right.
Like, you can just be out and about at shows. Make sure you say hey. Like, I love that. I love seeing people again and again and again, you know, at a show or at the club or whatever. It's, I made a lot of friends through drag, and not
Definitely.
just other entertainers, but like people who just come out to the show and support.
Yeah. It's a great space to be in and there are so many roles to fill. That was something that I wound up what drag kind of brought me to, like in addition to like, oh, I enjoy performing, like it also brought me to like these kind of journalism projects. It brought me to like, oh, I really enjoy working like kitten and stage crew positions and like those are all things that you can figure out and that you can explore.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with posting on Instagram. You know, like
Yeah.
if I could go back and do it all again, honestly, before I even told anybody I was interested in doing drag, I would have made like 10 costumes and 10 mixes and
Hmm.
maybe a wig or whatever. And yeah, really just like hit the ground running.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have anything happening after November 20th that you would like to plug on the recording?
I will be, ooh, the 29th. I'm going down to Zephyr for a Pokemon themed show. That'll be really
Nice.
fun. And then in December, kind of near the end of the year, I'm doing a show with Stevie Phoenix, another king out in the Toledo area who's been producing for a while. It's called Drag Lab. Each theme is kind of like sciency.
Ooh,
This one is
cool.
time travel. So each person got an era, and they have to do things in that era. And I'm probably doing Monty Python. So come out for buffoonery.
Awesome. Yeah, those will be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we sign off?
I don't think so. Sorry if I got problematic. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said all that. But I will say this, though, just to kind of, I don't like critiquing without saying, like, if you need help, here I am. So if you are a new entertainer and you want some advice on how to do anything in drag except wigs or makeup, I got you. Hit me up. I'm way better at working with kings than queens just because I understand that world a little bit more. But if anything that I said sparks joy or sparks anger or whatever, feel free to DM me. I am happy to have a conversation with anybody and to share any of the wisdom that I have picked up along my journey.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. You have done a lot, both by example and in conversations. I've really appreciated everything that I've learned from you, so I would strongly suggest for people to hit you up. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Ryder. This was a really rewarding conversation, I think.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I loved having this conversation with you, and I hope people resonate with it. And I'm so serious. Hit me up.
Thank you for listening to Kings on the Aux. This episode featured Cleveland drag king Ryder Slowly and was hosted by Cleveland drag king Caius Crow. You can find Ryder's looks, performance videos, and upcoming show dates on Instagram at Ryder Slowly. That's RYDER Slowly. You can find me on Instagram at Caius Crow. That's CAIUS Crow. Questions? Comments? Compliments? Complaints? Send me a message on Instagram at KingsOnTheAux or email me at caiuscrow@gmail.com. I'll talk to you soon on our next episode. Thank you for supporting local drag.